What up, sports fans and fellow foodies? I'm Julie, and welcome to my kitchen, where each week I talk sports while whipping up culinary delights. Today, winner chicken dinner. Those Bears pull off the comeback win against the Packers. Packers go home, Bears advance. We're going to be making some chicken tonight, and right now things are hot, just like the Bears' fourth quarter. I've got my heat on my saute pan. If you remember, in one of our previous episodes, we talked about checking the heat. Throw a little water in there. You hear the hiss. If it starts to roll into little tiny balls of water, it's too hot. We're good here. We're going to add some oil and get things cranking. I'm just adding a little bit of olive oil to our pan so that our chicken does not stick. I'm just circling it around, and we're going to let that heat up as well as we get some chicken heating up in there. All right, this is my all-clad saute pan, my absolute favorite. And that's going to be the base for our cooking our chicken tonight. All right, so let's talk about that crazy Bears game. Those first three quarters, I was flipping the TV the bird quite a bit. The Packers were having their way with the Bears. It looked like the Bears offense couldn't get rolling. It was just frustrating to watch for three quarters. And then all of a sudden, Cardiac Kids, Comeback Caleb, the Iceman, he helped the Bears score 25 points in that fourth quarter. And as the Packers fans were just crying into their cheese, Bears fans were getting ready to celebrate. That stadium was shaking, and it was just pandemonium when that clock went zeros all the way across. All right, let's get some chicken going here. Chicken, one of the craziest things to work with in the kitchen. You gotta be really super careful with it because raw chicken, not good. You can cause salmonella. You don't want to cross-contaminate anything. Cross-contamination occurs. Let's say I use this Thanks Bears cutting board to cut up my chicken, and then I decide I'm going to cut, I don't know, celery on it, and then I start munching on the celery. You've got chicken guts on here. So you don't want to cross-contaminate. You want to wash your hands all the time if you are touching raw chicken. What I'm doing here, I'm getting this sauteed. It's going to turn from pink to white, and we're going to keep an eye on it. Make sure it doesn't get too brown. We're going to pull it when it comes time to make the sauce. Secret sauce like what the Bears had working after halftime yesterday. Caleb Williams had some explosive moments on the sidelines. He was not happy at himself, not happy at Luther Burden, but he managed to channel it, to harness it. And when you hear him talking in the post game about how they are not done, this is just one step on their path to getting where they want to go. Gotta love it. Gotta love what you heard. And I love the Packers fans all crying in their beer. Sorry, guys. There's a change into the guard happening in the NFC North. You know, you got a young quarterback, a young coach that work well together. You're starting to see the building blocks. Colston Loveland, another great game yesterday. Holy cow, that dude was everywhere. And you had the other guys who might not have been getting the passes, guys like Cole Kmet, doing their job blocking. So all around, great effort late in that game. Early on, very ugly. I didn't think we were going to be doing winner chicken dinner. I thought we were going to be doing, I don't know, some sort of like cry in your beer sort of recipe, or, something with blue cheese because we'd be blue. We'd be very sad. But instead, we get to celebrate with some chicken, which you can see is looking pretty good. It's still a little pink in the middle there, but I got that working. And if you are cooking chicken on the grill, in a saute pan, in the oven, the key temperature you're looking for is 165. I tend to always have my meat thermometer handy when I am doing anything with meat on the grill, on the stovetop. I will check the chicken just to make sure. In this case, we can pull it when it's just getting close to 165 because we're going to put it back in the pan for a few seconds. But we definitely need to get into that threshold, into that range there. All right, this is a great way to use up stuff in your fridge, which I'm all about. I'm waiting for that game to start yesterday. We had to wait till, the waiting all day for Sunday night song. We had to wait all day for Saturday night. Killing me. I'm waiting for that Bears game to start. I cleaned out the entire fridge, pulled out every shelf, pulled out the bins. I cleaned everything, threw things away, got rid of stuff. It was a massive project, but it was a good way to use up some energy while I was waiting for that game to start. And I stayed awake for the whole game. No Red Bull, nothing. I was on fire. All right, speaking of fire, we're on kind of a medium heat here. Like I said, you want to make sure your pan's hot when you start. My chicken is looking pretty good here. So we're going to take my meat thermometer. I'm just going to do a quick check, see how we're coming along. We're at 120 and climbing. All right, I'm going to kick up my heat a little bit and just keep this working. So we know from the Eagles falling to the Niners today that the Bears are going to be facing the Rams next week. So it'll be the second-seeded Bears at home against the visiting fifth-seeded Rams, a team that came into the playoffs with a lot of hype as a Super Bowl team because of that offense, that high-powered offense. The Bears did not face the Rams this year. You have to go back to 2024. It was a Bears win, 24-18. And so you have to kind of start from scratch with this one because it's a new batch of players squaring off against each other. However, Matthew Stafford, who is the quarterback for the Rams, has faced the Bears a ton in his career because of his time in Detroit. And yes, he does have a winning record against the Bears. All right, let's take a check on this again. We're at 140, 150. We're going up pretty quickly here. And our oil, I used olive oil. You can use vegetable oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, whatever you want to use. Just make sure your chicken is not sticking to your pan. And as you can see, the way I'm moving this around, nothing's sticking. It is beautiful. It's looking good and it's smelling good. In a little bit, I'm going to toss a little bit of seasoning on here right before we pull it off. And you can use any kind of seasoning. I am just a big fan of things being well salted. So, give this a little more heat. I'm going to use just one of my spice blends here. Tons of these in my cabinet. So I'm just going to put a little bit of seasoning to stick to the chicken. Give it some salt and pepper. Whatever other fun stuff's in here. Like I said, that's one of the things I love about this. You just kind of make it with what you got. You don't have to go running to the grocery store for anything. And as you'll see when we start adding our liquids, I use a lot of cool stuff that's just hanging out in the fridge and I don't know what else to do with it. That's going to be the base for your sauce. All right, the only bad part is sometimes you start winging it with the sauce and then when you want to make it again, you don't remember what you put in it. So it's a little different every time, which is fun, but also a little exasperating when somebody says, hey, make that chicken sauce again. Okay, sure. All right, let's check our temp on this. We are definitely over 165. So I'm going to take this down a little. I'm going to take my chicken out of here. Grab some tongs to do that. Like I said, we're just going to take this out for a few seconds. It's going to return to the pan. We're going to get it out of here so we can work on our sauce. So what we have is a nice hot pan, and we've got some oil left over in there. We got a little bit of the juices from the chicken that seeped out, and we're going to put our aromatics in there. Aromatics are garlic, onions, things like that. I'm going to use shallots, which is like a cross between garlic and onions. So it looks just like this. And it's a little bit milder in flavor, and it's a little easier to cut. If you're one of those people who cry when you cut onions, this one's a little bit easier to cut. Might still tear up a little bit, but it's a little bit easier. All right, so I'm going to put my aromatics in there. Give that a little bit more heat, and we're going to let those get kind of brown. Now what you're going to get on the bottom of the pan is kind of like a brown film or brown layer. That's partly because our liquids are evaporating in here. But you'll see it's looking kind of like that. All right, so you see you got that brown stuff? You're going to want to lift that off by something we call deglazing. Deglazing is when you use a liquid that you add to your hot pan. It's going to go whoosh and bring up all that whoosh, that steam. And it's also going to lift that stuff off the bottom of the pan. That stuff's called fond. It's actually the really good stuff that makes a good sauce or gravy. All right, so you can use anything you want for that base, clear, creamy liquid, whatever you want to use. But I love using stuff that's either got vinegar in it or alcohol in it. So you could use something like this. I've got a red apple vinegar. You can use just a plain white wine vinegar. In this case, I'm going to use up some of the alcohol I have in my fridge. So this happens. This is real in my household. I buy all sorts of hard ciders. I don't always love them. This is one I bought for Halloween. It's a blood orange Angry Orchard. Check that out. All right, throw in a little more. I'll still use up the can somehow. I didn't love it as a drink. It was okay. But I'm going to go ahead and add this to lift everything up. You saw that sizzle and steam. I'm going to keep it hot enough. And see that? It took off all that brown on the bottom of my pan. And then I'm just going to let that work for a second here while I figure out what else I want to add. And again, this is the fun part. In our house, we always have tons and tons of barbecue sauces in the fridge. And you know, there's like 2 tablespoons left. Okay, that looks like a good one. Let's use up a little of that. This, I believe, is a brandy amaretto barbecue sauce. I'm gonna use up a little of that. I have literally 6 jars of Sweet Baby Ray's, 6 bottles. Everything from like honey mustard to Vidalia onion. If you've got it in your refrigerator door like I do, you absolutely can throw it in here, and if you don't like it, you add something to just change it up a little. You'll sample your sauce as you're going. All right, as it's heating, it is gonna reduce, which means it thickens, but I'm also gonna add some thicker stuff to it, official term, thicker stuff. In this case, I'm gonna hit the jelly part of the door on my fridge. This is a pepper jam that my niece Kaylee made. And, you know, I was putting it on like crostini and toast and stuff like that, using it for pita. But it's gonna be perfect in here because it's gonna bring a little heat. Just like Caleb Williams brought the heat in the 4th quarter. So I used up that jelly jar from my fridge, added a little thickness to here, a little bit of sweetness, some spice, and that's kind of how we keep building our sauce. Again, you're looking in your condiments, you're looking in your jams and jellies, your preserves, sauces you already have, salad dressings. Salad dressings are great for this. You can use, you know, some vinaigrette that you got hanging around. You can use a Russian dressing, whatever you got hanging around there. It's fair game. I'm gonna throw a little bit of stone ground mustard in here. It's like yellow, like the Packers oozing all over the field when they lost. What do you think of that post-game handshake between Mike LaFleur and Ben Johnson? Oh my gosh, that was so painful, so awkward. They do not like each other. It was my prediction that I actually thought this could be, the loss to the Bears could be the end of Mike LaFleur in Green Bay, but haven't heard anything on that yet. Just saying, you got John Harbaugh out there who needs a job, and he's got some ties to the Packers office. Just saying. All right, the reason I'm whisking this here is just to incorporate some of that mustard, which is a little thick. So we want to work that into our sauce. All right, so we've got our aromatics in there. We've got some liquids. We've got a little bit thicker components. And again, anything you got lying around. I am so big on why did I buy this? Okay, well, when it's hanging out in the fridge, you don't know what else to do with it. This is where you're gonna use it. All right, last thing I'm gonna throw in here, I have some chopped figs, some dried figs. It's gonna add a little sweetness. Figs go really, really well with onion. So we like that there. Add that, it's gonna soften up with the heat and the liquid. And we haven't forgotten about our chicken, so we're gonna go back to that. Bears could have been facing a bird next weekend, but the Eagles laid an egg. Yeah, you know, Jalen Hurts was 5-0 at home. I felt in the playoffs. I felt very confident. Picking the Eagles in my football pool was not meant to be. But you know what? This is shaping up to be one of those postseasons where anybody's got a chance. The Rams, by the way, already installed as a 4.5-point favorite over the Bears. Not loving that. But Bears are okay with being under the radar. That'll work well for them. Alrighty, and you know Ben Johnson is going to make sure they don't come out flat out of the gate again. I didn't think they would this weekend. After what happened the last 2 games of the regular season, thought they'd come out on fire. Not so much. Would like to see them get some points in the first couple drives. But you know, as long as you come up with the win, bottom line, right? Packers are going home, Bears are moving on. All right, I am working my chicken into my sauce here. Quick note on the chicken. I love to cut it in the little bite-sized pieces. It's easier for you or your family or your guests or whomever to eat without trying to like cut into a huge honking chicken breast. And I love to just trim it really nicely so that there's not any weird chicken goopy stuff on there. And it also cooks quicker if you go into the small bites like this. And then you can serve it over rice, over risotto, over noodles, whatever you want to pour it over, ladle it over to serve to your guests. And yes, your family, they're your guests too. You're cooking for them just as much. Maybe not trying to impress them as much, but you're cooking for them as guests too. All right, last thing I've got here, I've got some fresh chopped herbs. This time I'm using parsley. You can use whatever is in your fridge. So I'm gonna put a little bit in here, and you can save some for garnish at the very end. Smells good, gives it a little crispness, a little freshness. And I'll show you in just a second here how we got things thickening up really nicely. We've got beautiful color. And again, we've got a nice cook on our chicken. So here's what we got going on. And when we're ready to serve it, we know this is edible. We know we've reached our proper temperature. Like I said, you're gonna put it over rice, over noodles, whatever you wanna put it over. I'm just gonna put it in here so you can get a good look at how pretty it turned out, how good it smells. Like I said, you can do a little fresh garnish on there as well. Make it look pretty and smell good as you're putting it on the table. All right, that's what we've got for today. I can't wait to see what's gonna happen next week when the Bears face the Rams. I promise you, whatever happens, I will not be cooking ram in the kitchen. Definitely not on the menu. But hopefully, maybe it'll be a sweet victory and we'll go back to some desserts next week. I don't know, stay tuned. That's the fun of the postseason. I'm Julie, thanks for joining me here in my kitchen. I'll see you next time.